Let's take you to the Sheriff Robert Luna as likely a use of force investigation as a Lancaster woman was slammed to the ground outside of a grocery store by a LA County deputy. Let's listen into this from the beginning here on Live Now from Fox.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here with a couple of hour notice. A lot going on behind the scenes. As always, I'm going to give you a statement about what we know at this time. There's a lot we know, and there's a lot more we don't know. So obviously, I'll answer any questions that we have the ability to answer right after I get done with this. So on Saturday, June 24th, at a grocery store located in the city of Lancaster, our Lancaster Sheriff Station received a 911 call from a store employee who stated that two customers were assaulting loss prevention employees. Upon arrival, a deputy approached a man matching the description given by store security personnel. As deputies attempted to detain the individuals, the encounter escalated into a use of force incident that was captured by a community member with a cell phone camera. And I've got to tell you, I have seen the video, both the video collected by the community member and our body-worn camera footage that we put out Monday night, and it's disturbing. There's no ifs and buts about it. The department has initiated an internal affairs investigation into this incident. The investigation will include interviews of all witnesses, the involved personnel, a review of body-worn camera video captured by responding personnel, surveillance video from the store, and cell phone video provided by a community member, along with any other information related to this incident. And at this point, I'd like to probably say to any of your viewers, whether you're doing it on television, radio, or newspaper, that if there's anybody who either witnessed or saw any information related to this event, please contact us as soon as possible, because we want to make sure as we're conducting this investigation that it is as thorough as it can be, and we can only do that if everybody's given us the information that's out there. I also want to say that both deputies have been removed from field duty pending further review of this investigation. The purpose of this investigation I talk about, a lot of times you hear us talking about the investigation and it just seems like something we repeat, but I want to make it clear to all of our community that this investigation is to objectively, and I do repeat, objectively determine if the force used was reasonable, if it was necessary, if it was appropriate and proportional to the level of actions that were described. And of course, that's from the deputy's perspective, what happened in the store, all those things that are being investigated. I am also committed to full transparency, and this is why I decided to release the store video on Monday night with our statement. We always haven't done that in the past, and for clarification, because I know this question will be asked, this incident occurred on June 24th. I was not made aware of it till last Friday night. So we worked on it Friday night over the weekend in a statement, and then when we got back to work, we said, hey, we're going to release the body-worn camera footage on this. So again, committed to the full transparency. And then as soon as we find out, we're working on the statement, we're working on the body-worn camera footage, and then I think most of you are aware that there is a consent decree up in the Antelope Valley where Lancaster sits. So we notified our federal monitors to make sure they were aware of this incident and that the video existed out there. Our Civilian Oversight Commission, and then the Office of the Inspector General for the County of Los Angeles. And again, that's important because there's no taking shortcuts in any investigation, not that we would do that anyways, but there are other agencies that will be looking at this along with us. We do take the use of force, any use of force that occurs within our agency very seriously, but again, we need to determine the actual facts of what happens, and it's going to be, and I'm going to make sure that it's a very objective review. The male involved in this arrest, I'm not naming him, just like I'm not naming the deputies, because we're still in the middle of this investigation, and out of respect, I don't want to name anybody at this point. I'm sure that'll come at a later time. But the male involved in this was arrested and cited out for resisting or delaying an officer, which is a 148 charge, petty theft or attempt petty theft, and then interfering with the business. So there's 3 different charges for the male involved in this. The female involved in this case complained of pain to her eyes after being pepper sprayed and sustained several abrasions on her arms. The female was treated at a local hospital for her injuries and arrested and cited out for assaulting an officer and battery after assaulting loss prevention personnel inside the market. And for clarification on there, from what we gather, and again, it's early on the investigation, she was involved in some kind of a theft altercation with store employees and loss prevention personnel inside the market. I have asked Chief Dennis Neer, who's standing right beside me. He's the chief that oversees our Northern Patrol Division, along with Acting Assistant Sheriff Myron Johnson, who is currently in command of the department's patrol operations, to personally oversee this incident and to keep me apprised of all updates. And it's not only myself, but standing right next to me is Under Sheriff April Tardy, who oversees all our administrative or internal affairs investigations. Myself, Under Sheriff Tardy, Acting Assistant Sheriff Johnson, and Chief Neer have collectively spoken with the variety of elected officials at the city, county, and state level, including County Supervisor Catherine Barger, State Assembly members Mike Gibson and Juan Carrillo, and Mayor Rex Paris. I have spoken to them. They're concerned about this incident, and I've talked to them over the last several days. I've also spoken to several community leaders, religious leaders in the Antelope Valley. And then as I conclude these statements, what we've directed our command staff to do is to organize a meeting with community stakeholders later on this week. Those phone calls have already started. We're still trying to identify a location and work with others to put this, but it will give the community an opportunity and our community leaders out there to bring forward their concerns regarding this incident. And our full intent is to work with the community. And based on some of the community outcry that I've heard, there has been some challenges out in that area, and we want to make sure as we move forward collectively, not only as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department working with our elected officials and our partners in the federal government who've been seeing this consent decree over the last 8 years, that that we are moving in the right direction. Although I look at this incident and I got to tell you, it's a bummer to see it. I always think we can do better, but again, I don't know all the facts. And as we get them, we'll be sharing them with our community. So I thank you again very much for being here with us today, and now I stand ready to answer questions. And you, give me a second. He raised his hand.
What's the relationship between the man and the woman that were taken into custody?
We're still looking at that. Obviously, it looks to me, or from what I'm gathering, that they went there together. They were involved in the dispute inside the market together. Somebody identified him as husband and wife. We don't know that for sure, so we're still looking at that relationship.
Sheriff, you called it disturbing. Could you expand on that when you saw this videotape? What exactly was disturbing about it?
When you see a use of force of anybody in uniform, and with any community member, But obviously there is a woman in this video, and again, we don't know all the facts. So in order to stay objective, I mean, no one likes to see that. I don't think anybody ever wants to see any force being applied in any manner, especially from somebody in uniform. But when I go back and you're reviewing this, you try to put yourself in the position of the community member and what she may have been feeling. But at the same time, if I'm looking at this objectively, what were the deputies thinking? Meaning they're responding to a robbery. What's happening on the other end? So there's a lot to this. So I ask for the community's patience to allow us to look at this objectively and figure out exactly what happened.
Sheriff,
was there anything taken from the store?
On that, I don't know yet. If I tell you what I think, I'm not being fair. Because as I sit here, I'm telling all of you, I don't know all the facts. But that's what this team is going to do. There'll be others looking at this. The Inspector General will be looking at this. I'm sure a Civilian Oversight Commission will be looking at this. And then at the end, we'll figure out, is it a training issue? Absolutely could be. Is it misconduct that could lead to discipline, from lower levels of discipline all the way to dismissal? That's all on the table. I do not know yet, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I told you what I thought it was here in front of you now. And I'm sorry, there was a question back here.
The store, and were the suspects in possession of anything when you made that arrest?
That's part of what we're still looking into. Everything you just asked are the questions we're asking, and we'll find out as we're moving forward.
Sheriff, you're looking into the two actions of the two deputies to begin with. But some people in the community have indicated, as you hinted at, you said there may be some challenges in how patrols have been done there in the Lancaster area. Some of the people are convinced that the actions go beyond the two deputies. It's the attitude that's coming from the commanding officer in the Lancaster area. Not putting any blame on him right now, but will this investigation go beyond those two deputies to look at the chain of command and how activities have happened regarding patrol operations in Lancaster?
Yes, and that's an excellent question, because as we look at this, people are focused on what just happened on the video. Obviously, I've already said it, it's concerning. We will look at that to see those factors. We also have to look at the response. Who called, what they said, our station personnel, what they heard, what they dispatched, because you've got to look at the mindset of our responding employees when they get there. What did they hear happen? A lot has to do with the way they responded or reacted in the call. If they got a call as this one that there was a robbery in progress, you can just imagine that mindset and the safety precautions they have to take to get there. That is going to be evaluated. Part of that is when this first happened, how did the chain of command, from the sergeants to lieutenants to the captains at that station, did they act appropriately? All those things will be assessed, analyzed, reviewed, and then for us in executive management, we have to look at, do we have a systems issue? And obviously with the consent decree that exists, and the gaps that have been there in the past, my job as your sheriff is to come in and do what I can to assess and try and fix those. And I'm very encouraged because even before this incident, I was getting some very positive reports from our federal monitors dealing with that consent decree and just making moves, not only for the Antelope Valley, for this entire department. We have wonderful men and women that work here. And we had some good things going on. Obviously, we just keep on moving forward because one of my primary jobs is to build trust in this community.
Sheriff, you said the two people in the parking lot matched the description of the people in the store. Did the employees of the store ID them as, yes, these were the two that were causing problems inside?
That is part of what we're looking at, but I believe after we made the contact, it doesn't appear as if there was a gap between the calling party from inside the store and the same individuals that our deputies stopped.
Sheriff, you mentioned a couple factors involved in this incident. One was you're going to be looking at, is it a systems issue, and the state of mind of the deputy. We have reports that ranks are down in that area 30%, and that this deputy was working a double shift. Could workload or stress be a factor in his reaction to this?
Those are all factors we'll be looking at. And what you're hearing is not inaccurate. This department is working very hard. The men and women, they're doing amazing work out there, responding to 911 calls. And out in the Antelope Valley, it's one of the busiest stations we have in the entire county. Yes, we will assess all that. As you know, employee wellness is a big factor. And it's not just the physical aspect that you see on video, but just the mental aspect of what we're putting our employees through. So all those will be looked at.
What kind of disciplinary measures are on the table? Is termination, could that result from this officer's actions?
Anytime we're conducting any investigation, we wait for the facts. And again, that objective review is absolutely critical. If the employees are found to have been involved in misconduct, that could be anything on the one end of training, discipline, letters of reprimand to days off, all the way through dismissal from the job.
Two more questions.
I'm sorry, Sheriff, could you clarify, is the deputy load, the census of deputies at that station down 30%?
I'd have to get back to you on the specific numbers. I don't think that number is too far off. I want to say it's somewhere in the high 20s. At the end of the day, we're shorthanded in a lot of our patrol stations, if not all of them.
Sheriff, regarding this investigation, I know we're only less than 7 days into it, really, at this particular point. Is there any kind of a timeline you want to see more or less set or meant to, where we get some answers as to what actually happened on this thing? Are we talking a month, longer? What? How long do you think this might run?
I asked our team, if possible, without taking any shortcuts, because we don't want to do that, that we can get this done hopefully within the next 45 days or so. But at the same time, when we ask for something to be that higher of a priority, we'll make sure that every T gets crossed, every I gets dotted. And at the end of the day, it's not just for us, but it's for the benefit of our community and the deputies involved.
Is there any more department video to be released, or be released at all?
To my knowledge right now, we had 2 deputies on scene. We released the body-worn camera footage from both of their body-worn cameras. To my knowledge, I don't think there is any other video unless it comes from community members. And I think there's already one out there that's been there. But as part of the investigation, if we see anything that we can put out, we'll put that out as well if we can.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can you Spanish? Mm-hmm. Okay. On the side.
Yeah.
All right, you've been listening in here to this update from officials in Los Angeles County talking about this video that we just showed you moments ago as well, showing a deputy slamming a woman to the ground outside of a grocery store. The officials there talking about how this incident is still under investigation. So they aren't able to release a ton of other details at this moment, but I did want to update the media on what they know so far.